God damn it.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Take the truth. I'll set you free.
Oh, I can hear you.
Okay, hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good. A little bit nervous.
Oh, you don't need to be nervous. No, we're just gonna talk about your art. Your art's awesome. So
Thank you.
just gotta talk about your, what you do. That's all. It's pretty simple.
Okay.
Right?
I'm just very shy. I never did this before. I'm actually pretty shocked that I'm doing this because I am like terrible with these shits.
Don't worry, it's totally fine. I'll take good care of you. We'll just have a good talk.
Good.
So I'm just gonna jump into it and say, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Face the Truth. I'm really excited to talk to my guests, and I say that every single time, but I am actually excited every single time, so it's not a lie. I am a big fan of art, making a living as an artist myself. I think it's really important to share everyone's art as many, it was basically, if I come across someone's work that I think is awesome, I want to share it. And so this guest is someone that I've found on Instagram. Her work is just beyond, like, I don't know exactly how old she is. It's not polite to ask a lady, right? You can't ask how old she is, but she looks pretty damn young to me. And I'm very confused how her work looks the way it does. So
I'm not that young anymore. I'm 28.
Oh, that's still pretty young. That's still pretty young. But anyways, everyone, please welcome Lorenna Lannes.
Hi, everyone.
And hopefully I said that. I always feel like I'm saying everyone's name wrong. So
Well, in all honesty, my name apparently is of French origin, and I don't know how to say my name. In Brazil, we say Lannes. In French, apparently
Okay.
it's Lannes,
Oh, okay.
but I'm not saying that.
Well, my name is Seiler, but like in America, everyone says Sealer or Sailor or Silo. But when I went to Germany and I went to Austria, they say Zeiler.
Zyla. Okay.
Zeiler. And I was like, that's how it's supposed to be said. With
I like that.
strength. Yeah.
Yeah.
It means rope maker. So I don't know how powerful that is. But anyways, thank you for joining me for this. This is awesome. And like I said, I love your paintings so much. I'm a huge fan of watercolor work. I love watercolor. And you do some beautiful watercolor work. And I don't know if the other images I'm seeing are oil. Or
Yeah,
what you're
it's
doing,
mostly watercolor and oils.
Okay.
I kind of walked my ass backwards into watercolors. Like it was not really how I started with painting. And I have a lot of anxiety, and I just felt like it was something for me to work with quickly, because oils feel very it feels like a lot of commitment when you start doing it.
So let me ask, are you single or?
I'm married.
Okay, well, you commit to that, so that's good, right?
Oh, I did.
There you go. No, what's funny? Same, I can relate to that. But I mean, I think I started with watercolor, and that was like my first medium, and then I gradually, it's scary at first when you start to paint, right? Like, and when I remember like just slowly getting my way into opaque, but it was like, even when I switched from watercolor to acrylic, I was like thinning it down, like so thin, and building it up. But then when I found oils, I was like, oh wow, now it changed everything. But then I go back to painting with watercolor, and I paint like just thin and like super super thin and build it up.
It's very interesting you say that, because I feel like with me, the journey from going from oils to watercolor was interesting in the sense that I started with painting like with that fear that you're talking about, but also a lot of like, like, oh, I need to do it, it needs to be perfect or whatever. So it was a lot of pressure that I was putting on myself towards something that I didn't even know exactly what I wanted with it. It was just like this very primary need that I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
But watercolor was basically my process of like self-acceptance in the sense that this is stupid. Like it doesn't need to be perfect. And I watercolor makes me feel like I can embrace certain aspects of my personality and my way of doing things a little bit more easily than oils, because oils you really have so much like freedom with how like you want you can make it as watery as you want or as opaque as you want. It makes you kind of overthink a little bit, and watercolor kind of pushes you to make very quick decisions and be on the go,
Yeah.
And
No, I can relate to that for sure. Have you ever played around with gouache?
yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? It's like it's like in this weird in between, and it just feels weird, but I like it. I like it. It's not it feels a bit too in between to me. Like I still don't know exactly how to communicate very well using gouache, but I like it. I think
it's a cool medium because it's like you can paint very directly, and you can paint kind of like oil, like you can kind of paint in that sort of technique, but then you can paint thin and build up, but it can also be frustrating medium, like
I feel like the way that things dry is very different in my opinion. Like there's a complete different behavior with the paint, and I don't feel like I explored that behavior enough to feel comfortable with it yet. Like I never feel like I'm able to express exactly what I envision. Although I have ideas for gouache, I feel like there's a bit of a technical limitation on my part using it.
It's funny. Like I never really got into it until it was a long time ago now. But do you know who Sean Cheatham is?
I'm sorry?
Sean Cheatham.
Oh yes.
Okay. I love his work, but years ago, way back when we were blogging, he was sharing these step-by-steps of these gouache studies that he was doing in his sketchbook, and it was so like there was something so like just amazing about the way that they look. Like the thing I love about watercolor and gouache is like there is sort of an element of life in the work. Like the watercolor is going to do what watercolor does, and I think you should just let it bleed a little bit. And it's okay if like some people want to be perfectionists with it, but I kind of like to just let it live. There's like such beautiful things that can happen in your painting, but he would do this thing, and ever since I saw this, I started painting with gouache. I'm like, this is so awesome. And what he would do is he would do like a portrait of someone, and then he would just block in like maybe 3 values, like keep it real, almost look like paint by number. So he kind of paint it in almost like sort of solid, like, and when he let that dry, then he would take water and he'd pour water on top of it and and then let it just lift and move around.
Wow,
and
that's really interesting.
And then it would kind of bleed together and dry with these weird rings and stuff, and then he'd go on top of that and paint into it. And it was so cool. And I was like, oh, it's stuff like that just makes you want to I want to paint, like this is so cool.
Yeah, there are paintings that are just like that. I used to say to another painter that there are paintings that make you feel like, when you see food and you can almost taste it in your mouth. Like, and there are paintings that just makes you feel like that. Oh, wow, I could be painting right now. Instead of eating, you know what I'm saying?
For sure.
It's a very similar feeling of like it's you feel it in your body. It's a very strange like reaction.
Yeah, and it's cool being one of the artists in this world, because not everyone knows that. They don't get that. You know what I mean? It's kind of a cool thing. It's a secret power.
Secret power. It's also a secret curse. Like sometimes That's very much how I feel. I feel like I have to be honest. Sometimes I just wish that wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like it becomes a need, you know, and whenever it becomes a need, there's a pressure to do, at least from my perspective. Like, how can I say? I can never paint things that are not very personal and
Oh
like
yeah, yeah. No, I know what you
very
mean.
impactful while I'm doing it. So it's always very draining, a draining exercise for me, you know. I just can't stop myself from doing it anyway. So
Yeah,
it's like,
can be overwhelming.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why I don't paint often. Like I study often. I'm always not studying with paint, but I'm always studying with my eyes. I don't know
Mm.
how to explain this. I feel like I'm
No, yeah, I
always
know what you
painting.
mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm always painting, I'm always drawing, I'm always trying to like reinterpret things from 3D to 2D in my head.
Hmm.
And for some reason, when I go back to painting, it transfers, you know?
I do the
Luckily.
exact same thing. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah,
Like you find yourself almost like daydreaming sometimes, but you're actually just looking at something and just thinking about what colors you would use to get that color,
yeah,
or noticing the soft edges in the when the grass is meeting the shadow and whatever it is. It's like it's constant. Yeah, I'm always.
absolutely. And like I
We
look
shouldn't
at
be allowed to drive.
that is true. I mean, one thing that nobody knows, I don't know how to drive. I don't drive. I
Well,
I
you're in New York, right?
yeah,
So you,
luckily
you
for
don't need to
me,
drive.
I don't need to drive, but
Yeah.
I don't drive, and I probably shouldn't, like you said.
That's fine.
Um, yeah, in Brazil, it's expensive, really expensive to learn how to drive, and I left early. Like I left Brazil when I was like 22, and it was around the time that people there start driving. There, it's 18, the minimum wage, not 16.
Mm.
And I just didn't do it. And when I got here, I was like, oh, I can use the subway. Fuck it. I don't want to
Yeah,
drive.
you don't need it in New York. It's
No,
kind of
actually, you
plus
don't
it's
need
so expensive. Like everything about having a car in New York is just terrible.
it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no way.
Yeah.
So you started, so you're from Brazil, and where did you start getting into art? How
When?
old are you? Yeah, like what were you as a young kid? Did you start, or is it something later on?
That's a question that is always really hard to answer, because I was always into art things, but I feel like most kids are into drawing and like doing things. I just can't see like the moment that most people stop doing it, and I just didn't do
Yeah.
stop. So it kind of just continued, and of course, like um, things took very long to mature and to for me to realize that it's something that I actually wanted to do, like as an adult. Like, oh my god, that's gonna be my adult thing, you know. But yeah, but um I just it just kept going. I don't know how to explain that, but I think the moment in which like I think that's a better way to explain, the moment in which I understood how I wanted to communicate the things that I'm thinking better, like that I found myself with painting a little bit more, was around like 2013, 2014, something like that. So it took a long time, I guess. Not that I know exactly how I want to paint or anything like that. I think that's something that you keep discovering through your whole life, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I found a theme and an aspect of my life to explore, and of the people who are matter to me to explore, that satisfies me to this day to like talk about and paint about. So before that, I was basically just studying, studying painting and studying drawing and doing my homework.
And did you go to school for, like art school or anything? Was that in Brazil or here? Or?
I did, but it sucked. I dropped out.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah.
I hated art school. But yeah, I kind of decided to take it on my own after that, and I don't regret it. Like
Yeah.
yeah, I felt I don't know. I just felt like it was so stuffy and so unnecessary in some weird ways. I don't know if it's because in Brazil, like um, there is like even more elitism related to art things,
Hmm.
because not everybody can like have the luxury of, oh, I'm gonna be an artist. Oh, you know what I'm saying? That's not
Yeah.
something that most people can even like, even if they have the talent and they have the ability, it's not something that everybody isn't going to be allowed to do by their parents or something like that, because it's so like it's unfeasible, really.
Yeah.
um but there is this stuffiness and elitism that I just didn't care about. Yeah.
So you had to leave. How so is that why you came to New York? Was to do more with your work, or was it, you don't have to tell me personal details. I'm just saying, like,
That was the face of somebody who went through a lot. um First, I actually went to Serbia, like Eastern Europe. That's when I first left Brazil, and it has nothing to do with art. I was just in love with the Serbian guy, and I went there to live with him.
oh, that's the way it happens. That's
Yeah,
funny.
it was interesting. It was a super interesting experience, because the neighborhood in which we lived was completely built by communists. So it was a kind of architecture and urban design that was radically different than anything I've seen. And I
Hmm.
was so interested and so glad to see it,
Yeah.
because it's like you're entering an alien world when you see all these like buildings mirroring each other from one side to the other.
Hmm.
Really interesting, very brutalist.
That's interesting.
But
Yeah.
New York City happened um, out of luck, or like I never like people sometimes they talk to me and they look at me like I have everything figured out, but it it was I completely walked my ass backwards into coming here. Like I have an aunt that I never seen, that like lived in New Jersey, and was like, oh, do you want to try to come here and see how it is? And I said, yeah, why not? Like nothing's really happening here. And I came here and she was absolutely insane and out of her mind. And I had to leave her house the second week. And it was interesting, like, give me a lot of material to paint about.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying life here. Like, I think it's a really cool place. And I feel like New York City, the interesting part is that I was talking about elitism before. And there is this, like, interesting coexistence of the both things, like of like people who are really like in their heads and some others that are very vocal and don't hesitate in speaking their mind the way that they need, and
Yeah.
I like that.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely
I
like,
said
no,
a
New
lot.
York is definitely I mean, I've got a lot of friends there. I visit every once in a while for most of my work is in New York, but there's definitely like an energy. There's like, I don't know. I love visiting, but I also love leaving.
Yeah,
It gets a
I
little crazy.
understand that. I do think
Yeah.
about leaving a lot, but I also feel like uh
It's great for if you're um like, like I've been living in Chicago since 1996 now, like in
mhm.
the city, and I'm about to get out of it. I'm about to leave, and I can't wait because I'm done with the city thing. Like I'm ready to relax a little bit and get out of the craziness of the city. But at the same time, I same with New York. Like as an artist, it is an enriching and inspiring place. Just like everything from the I mean, just the diversity alone, I find inspiring, and just so many different kinds of people with all the different kinds of foods and everything. But then there are beyond, like, if you're into art, it's just like everywhere in New York, like every kind of art you can think of. So, and I love too, like I have a friend, he lives, he's down in like the financial district area, and I love staying with him, but it's so every single time I'm there, it's like the full, from my experience anyways, the New York experience, where all night long it's just like constant, there's like this, even if no one's talking and it's just quiet in the apartment, you just always hear there's like this noise. And then like around 3-4 in the morning, all the trucks start like delivering things, and
garbage trucks.
My dog, where my dog? People yelling, like, like it's just nonstop, and then like honking, and it's like, and they're just sleeping, and I'm laying there just like, this is crazy. This is like all night long, and like there's like this sound, it's just like this, it's constant. It's like it's alive. It's like breathing,
Yeah, and you know what? I feel like I would have trouble sleeping without that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it would feel too silent, too peaceful. Like,
try sleeping with a fan. Put a fan on.
I love sleeping with a fan. In Brazil, we only sleep with a fan.
Yeah.
Like it was very difficult when I arrived in New Jersey because it was a lot quieter and there was no fan, and I was like, what the fuck is this? I hate this. Like
I have to have a fan. Like
yeah. White noise is the best noise.
Yeah, I used to live in uptown Chicago, and it's not so bad now. I mean, it's getting better, but when I first moved to Chicago, it was just terrible. Just gunshots and like all kinds, everything you can think of happening was happening all the time. And at night, it was like all you hear is people yelling, people screaming, sirens, doors slamming, just nonstop. And so early on, I bought a fan, and I just turn it on, and nothing's happening outside. It's all good. And I, to this day, I can't sleep without one. I have to have that fan on, just like, and my wife, she can't stand it. She wants like silence.
Oh no.
And like, I have to have a fan on. Like, I need that sound.
And like, it's not only the noise, it's the little breeze that comes out.
Yeah, a little breeze. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, how did this happen? We were talking about painting. Now we're talking about
See,
the noise and breeze.
Yeah, this is the way it goes.
Like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
So how long have you been in New York?
5 years.
So you were here before all the crap went down. What was it like being stuck in the city during all this stuff last year?
I would say that I was glad that I was here, because my other option would be Brazil.
Yeah.
In the sense that, yeah, it's really bad there, and it's still really bad. And not only that, in America, there's the political catastrophe that just kind of got somewhat resolved that happened. Yeah. And in Brazil, they're going through it as still.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad. Like, I very much acknowledge how privileged I am in comparison to, of course, people from there and my own family. Everybody's there. So I'm just happy and glad that everybody is safe and everybody is alive.
Were they are they happy for you to not be there?
Yes.
Are they like, what's Donald Trump like? As if you know him, What's he like?
they never asked me that, but because they all just hate him. They don't want to know.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, I don't get it. He's such a lovable guy. He's so nice.
Right? You can just look at his face, like, and see the love and affection he has for the entire human race.
I do stand up on the side every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been working, I got some Donald Trump bits that I'm kind of working on throwing them in, and I know people the last thing they want to do is hear Donald Trump or anything, but part of the bit is I threatened them like, hey, I will speak orange face the rest of this talk. You know, if you don't let me do it now, I'm going to just do it the entire time. Orange face the entire time. You know, I'll do my entire set as Donald Trump.
I love that term though. I never heard like orange face as a verb. Like I'm gonna orange face. I love that.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it the whole time. Okay.
But
Yeah, it's funny because like as soon as you like, I have a quote that I like to read to people. It's a Donald Trump tweet, and it's my favorite one. And it's funny because it's not political, but it just shows the mindset of this man who was the president, and where his maturity level and his intelligence level was at. And it's just the funniest thing. Actually, let me see if I can find it for you. I have it like in my notes here.
as an immigrant in America, as soon as I stepped foot here, he got elected.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was very interesting to be here during this period as an unwanted person. Let's put it like that. So
Trump, here it is.
never forget Donald Trump in my head.
Yeah. So this is a real tweet, okay? And this is I saved this because this obviously he's not on Twitter anymore. Which is so funny. But this is what he says. This is Donald Trump. This is the president. This is when he was the president. He says, "Everyone is asking how Tiger played yesterday. The answer is great. Okay, he was long, he was straight, and putted fantastically well. He shot a 64. Tiger is back and will be winning majors again. Not surprisingly, Jack also played really well."
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is the
Like
best part.
there's so many mixed feelings. Like I think he's one of the few human beings that can bring about like so many different primary
I keep
feelings
like almost
together.
throwing up in my mouth. I'm throwing up in my mouth.
Yeah, it's anger, it's disgust, it's like the humor element of it. It's everything together, and it comes like as you know, like
But
just can't deal with it.
listen
It's
to how he ends this though. This is my favorite part. His putting is amazing. Jack and Tiger like each other. That's how he ends it. Jack and Tiger like each other. It's like Jack and Tiger went up the hill. Tiger fell down and broke his face. It's like it sounds like Jack and Tiger like each other. Okay.
Oh my God,
This
it's like the
sounds
vocabulary of a child, like worse than a child, like a child that is not super gifted, you know what I'm saying?
But this is my favorite part is that the way that he ends his sentence is Jack and Tiger like each other. Like, oh wow, okay. It's like something a little kid would notice and be like, oh my gosh, Billy and Joey were playing today, and guess what? They like each other.
They like each other and they
Yeah.
live forever happy after. Like, yeah, like what the fuck, man? Like, please
I miss
never come back. So happy.
I mean, I miss it. It's so funny. I don't miss him as the president, but he's so funny. Like,
I heard other comedians say that. I heard other people who do stand up.
well, I miss draw. Like, I love when I get to draw him for stuff too. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I heard that a lot of people say that they're gonna miss him for the comedic element.
Oh yeah, he's hilarious. He could be a comedian. Like just the other day, it came out that during his presidency, he had the national. Oh gosh, I can't remember what department that some kind of one of the big like security departments for him. He was trying to get Saturday Night Live and Jimmy Kimmel and different people so that they wouldn't be allowed to talk about him anymore or make fun of him. They were basically trying to shut down. Excuse me. The president was trying to shut down SNL from being able to joke about him.
Yeah, how American of him.
And it's just so funny. It's like
that's ridiculous.
You're so petty. You're so caught up in stupid things like that when serious things are happening.
But you see, the interesting part about Trump to me is that I think he showed that even hypocrisy is better than what he's doing. Like, because like we grew up watching out his politicians being pieces of shit, and we know they're pieces of shit.
Yeah.
But they have like this decorum, you know, they have a certain way of presenting themselves and speaking in public that we know is not real. You know, that behind the scenes they're doing the same things that almost every other politician.
But we actually had a president that said, "I love the blacks."
Oh my God, yes, and that's the thing.
And I love Mexicans food. I love Mexican food.
Is a bit important. Like, can you please have a little bit of decorum? Like that's all. Like, that's fine. Like there is a little bit of importance towards like how you present yourself and the things that you're saying, and like how people, even if they don't know better and believe what you're saying, like children, they need to at least believe that the leader of their country has any sort of good intentions, you know. Like it's just not.
Like even when you go to other countries and you don't respect their leadership, like he couldn't do simple things like learn how to bow a certain way or shake hands. Like other countries have different things, different ways of doing things, and he's just like, hey, whatever.
Like I think it is just
pushing
like,
people out of the way.
There is this very basic primal like element of human decency, you know, towards like the minimum level of respect towards another person or another people that comes with just shut the fuck up and like just hold your opinion to yourself for a second. Like don't say that like don't do that as a leader, you know. And of course people praised his lack of restraint as something that is different than the others, because if he was saying out those things, the things that he was gonna do would be different too. But no, we just got all the bad parts and none of the almost good parts. It was just like
I mean, like never before in my entire life have I ever wondered every single morning, what did he do while I was sleeping? Like every day I would always look. I don't do that anymore. I'm not worried about what okay, if there's something, it'll be in the news, whatever. But he's just, maybe he's not exciting. Maybe he looks like he's about to die. Okay. But it's much more better than
I'm not waking up, opening like news and just like, okay, what did he do this time?
Yeah,
there was this constant feeling of anxiety that I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna open like the news app and I'm gonna be again like inoculated to the horrors of this world.
And he always and it was funny. I thought it was funny because like even he has like this personality where even when something's really like not good or like that happens to him, he seems to have a way of spinning it and turning it like you know, when he's being impeached, like I could totally imagine him being like, did you hear I'm a peach, you know? Apparently I'm a peach. I love peaches, you know. I'm the best peach in the world, you know. Peaches.
It's the salesman thing, right? I already work with sales and I hated it. It was the worst experience. And there's this thing with like always like it's a racketeering operation every time, you know what I'm saying? Like it's
he
horrible.
spins it. He's like every single thing is like, he's like, no, it's fantastic, it's okay,
it's fantastic. Like he's gonna, instead of accepting that something is bad, he might as well first make you believe that something that we know is bad for millennia, like the word bitch, is something good. Like that is his modus operandi. Like it's very
I mean, I'm still in shock about the fact that like that he even got nominated, because like during the whole thing, I remember watching the debates between just him and the other Republicans, and all he was doing was talking shit. He never once said anything political, never, not one time. And all he did was call the other people names. And I remember the funniest thing is at one of his rallies, he said, I could go like on Fifth Avenue and shoot someone and no one would care. and I could
I
still get
don't
elected.
remember that, but I
Look
should.
it up.
It
Like,
got lost in the sauce of the
no, people bring it
diarrhea
up
that
all
Donald
people bring it
Trump.
up all the time. Like he literally said, like, I can basically do whatever I want and I'll still get elected.
Oh
And
God.
I remember thinking, this is crazy. There's no way he's gonna get that. So it's weird. It's a really strange thing. And I think like it just the whole pandemic lining up with the end of his presidency and everything was just like it just made 2020 the weirdest year, you know.
It really felt like I was living a parallel universe. Like, and I feel it, like it is interesting because you start thinking that, okay, I need to stay home. I will stay home. That's a good time to paint, right? But not for me. It wasn't, like, because like I said, it needs to always be very personal, and like I usually chew like feelings and ideas for very long before I can regurgitate it into painting. Like it takes a long time. And that year threw me on a loop of not understanding anything. Like I don't even know how I feel anymore. Like I can't apprehend the reality, you know? And that made it really difficult for me to even find inspiration to paint. I didn't want to paint people with masks. I didn't even want to, like, there was a part of me that didn't even want to accept that this was a reality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there was, of course, this like, it was very strange. Like, I didn't want to approach painting thinking of, like, just reproducing the imposed reality on me, you know? And it made it extremely difficult to paint or to have any ideas. Like, how can I talk about something that we don't even know, like the ramifications yet? It just felt very unproductive and very depressing. I'm
glad you brought that up, because I was just about to ask you, like, if you felt motivated, because I know, like, I've talked with a lot of artists during this whole thing, and it's interesting. Some people were like, oh yeah, I mean, for me personally, I'm always in my studio. I'm always working. So it wasn't that strange. You know, it's weird because I have 4 daughters, and so two of them are teenagers. So that was probably the worst part, because I could tell that they were just like going a little crazy. But like, for the most part, I was like the only one running out, getting things, coming back, you know. But it didn't really affect my work too much, because I mean, I have to work. So like, but I understand there's definitely lots of times where you just don't feel like it's like everything was so up in the air. It seemed like,
it just felt like reality was not apprehensible. 2020 for me, like I couldn't all the bizarre things that were happening, and of course, like the election, the whole capital thing, and then the pandemic happening at the same time. It's like, yo, like I can't. I just, and I didn't feel like going in and exploring like how I personally was feeling about it, because it wasn't a good place. And and I felt like just diving in further in it would just be really bad for me. I actually had to go to a mental hospital last year.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because I really lost it. And it was a very interesting experience. I actually am very glad that happened. That never happened before. And I actually never experienced anything close to that. And I was very moved by the whole situation, like getting to know other people who are struggling. And I think the mental health whole thing, like the way that it's dealt with, and like all the treatments that they have are kind of, besides, like I think medication helps, but I feel like everything is just so open for interpretation. I never really had a good experience with the therapy or anything like that. I'm very glad that other people have, but to me, never really worked. But it was more of like, yeah, I'm in a place in which everywhere else I look, there are people with stories of struggle.
Mhm.
You know? And it really brings you like radically to the present and to this shared experience. You kind of have to get out of your head. And I'm really glad. Like I
Yeah.
think it really helped me more so than like all the talk and like all the instructions like that they kind of gave me to cope with my feelings. I feel like it was this element of getting out of my head and being brought back to that human connection made me feel like it was not how much that changed in the end, you know. Yeah.
Well, that's good. I think, I mean, that's, you know, recognizing that, you know, being honest with yourself about it and recognize it is like a huge step, and being able to like talk about it, because I mean, it's a serious thing, you know, and you know, like dealing with, you know, depression or any of these different things, like trying to deal with it just on your own is never going to be a good thing. You know?
Yeah, like it's not.
No,
I
you
don't
need to be able to,
recommend.
yeah, you need to be able to
don't-
talk with, but that's good that you took care of that. It's important, you know.
Yeah, and I'm glad that it kind of brought to my that year as to a resolution for me. You know, like I when I think of painting now, I can actually think of things that can talk about that whole experience.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like to be prosaic with my ideas. I don't like to be like, oh, that's about that. I like to kind of just try to recreate the feeling. You know, I don't like to try to recreate the scenario or the context. I don't care about that. I care more about how it felt and how I can reproduce these feelings with painting, like how I can explain that feeling. And I have been having more ideas. I know my latest painting, the painting of Michael Jackson, which is a weird thing.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah, but other paintings are gonna talk about that.
No, I mean,
so Michael Jackson's actually also part of that. He's a very interesting human being, but not.
I say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel okay. The connection between him and the things that I was talking about is the idea that so many things can be true at the same time. Like that multiple conflicting realities and multiple conflicting ideas about someone or anything are true at the same time. And I feel like he's the perfect like representation of that idea. Like a person who achieved perfection to the same rate that he didn't is a very interesting concept to me, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of funny because I'm not comparing Michael Jackson to Hitler or anything like that, but you know, I did, you know, I've always been interested in painting, well, caricaturing and painting creepy, messed up, dangerous people, and it's not because I'm glorifying them, but it's like I've done I have an oil painting that I did of Saddam Hussein. And a lot of people were like, why in the world did you paint that? And the reason I painted it was because I saw it was like during the news right before he hung, and there was this image of him where it was the moment he was told that he was going to he was gonna hang. That's what, okay. So it was like the exact moment that he was told he was gonna hang, and you could just see this. There was something in his look that was so disturbing and haunting, but also in a dark way beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And it pulled me into it, and I had to draw and paint it. And part of it's like he was expecting a soldier's death. He knew that he was going to die, and he was fine with that. Most people in his position don't live past their 40s.
Mm-hmm.
And he was fine with whatever punishment they were going to give him, but he wanted a soldier's death, which would have been shooting him. He would have been shot, by several soldiers at once or something like that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But instead they're going to publicly hang you.
It's a humiliation then.
Yeah. And you could see this look in his face. And like, so I did this painting based off of that. And it's an interesting painting because, and this is the ironic thing, a friend of mine, he has this really nice house out in the suburbs, and he has like get-togethers with people come over and everything. I gave him that painting as a gift years ago because he liked the painting a lot, and he has it hanging in their very nice and fancy kitchen. So when he has like people over, like guests over,
like,
and
what the hell?
there's like this oil painting. It's like it's like 20 inches tall, maybe. So it's a decent size, big, huge frame. And it's just hanging in his kitchen. And Saddam follows you, like his eyes like kind of follow you around and stuff. And I did same thing. I did like a Hitler. It was one of those things where I wanted to try to capture. I wanted to do a caricature of Hitler, but I didn't want it to be funny. I wanted to capture, like, it was kind of a challenge. Like how can I do a caricature, but also pull out what I feel when I see him? And I think it turned out like there's a creepiness to it.
Yeah.
And I have the swastika on his arm and everything. And it was funny because a lot of people try to get it taken down, but it's like, it's not glorifying him. It's like, are we not supposed to capture like our feelings or history? He existed.
Yeah.
And
I feel like when I'm drawing or painting anybody, there is this feeling of undressing somebody, not of course in a sexual way, but like you are dissecting every expression of that face. It goes so much beyond like pure representation. You tend to think of portrait as a homage or something like that, but it's always a study, of a person, of an individual, and what they represented. And I feel like, at least for me, when I paint or draw figures like that, it's always from my want to understand, like what I want to understand, because I don't understand. Like I don't understand what takes somebody to do things like that, or
exactly. And sometimes we don't even know why we're drawn to something. We just have a feeling, and we just want to, and that's the beautiful thing about being an artist, though, is it's like poetry. I mean, how many poets write some seriously fucked up things? That doesn't mean that they're a fucked up crazy person. It's like, that's what the art is exploring and pushing boundaries and just thinking, and and I think that's what makes it beautiful. That's what makes it,
to know is a concept that we usually attribute to the brain all the time, but I feel like the body knows things, and when we see something and our body reacts to it, there is a certain truth that maybe is inaccessible to us in that moment. But after we're done, like sometimes after I'm done with a painting and I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, that's why, like that's what my body wanted to see and what it wanted to provoke. Like I feel it now. Can I explain it with words? I don't know, but does it really matter? I don't think so. You know, I just think that there is a certain knowledge that is a little bit different, especially when you're talking about artistic things. I feel like like in college, they tried really hard to make art into this like very formal and almost scientific way of expression, or not expression even, of research. They like to use the word research. And I feel like it's not, it can be like that, depending on the way that you like to work or whatever. I honestly don't care. Like I don't think there's a right or wrong way to approach how you envision, an idea.
Yeah.
But I might criticize it and think it's crap, but you do you. Like, but I feel like we tend as a species to we tend to pretend that we know more than we do. And I feel like art is that disturbing element of life in which we definitely try harder to pretend that we know more than we do. I don't know where these things come from. Like, I might know after I'm done and I'm examining what I'm doing, and I'm like, wow, okay, like this is maybe a memory, or like it's a process of self-knowledge, but a lot of the times I still am trying to figure it out. So
yeah, well, I think that's also like why I think art is important, and it's why it's powerful. And it's interesting, like there's a piece of art that years ago I used to think was just that, why is that even considered art? It's just childish and stupid. And it's the jar of piss with a crucifix in it.
Oh God.
And but the more I thought about it, I realized how awesome that piece of art is, because it does so much. It offends people. It makes people think. It has discuss. What does it mean? Is he pissing on Christ? Is he pissing on the Catholic Church? Is he pissing on the fact that it's a horrible symbol? I mean, you're worshiping a guy who was killed on murdered on this device, and you hang this murder device everywhere. Like,
it's a very, I always thought, like, my grandmother was very Catholic.
Yeah.
And I had to live with her for a while, only with her. And we lived in a very, very small space.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it was basically a room for me and her.
Yeah.
And she had all these crosses all around.
It's weird, isn't it?
Oh my God. She actually is the biggest inspiration for me with painting. I like, the amount of guilt she instilled in me is something I'll carry forever. But I always felt like there was this presence of violence and guilt in these images, like a guilt that I could never understand. Like,
that's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
That's why you can be controlled and manipulated, and it is kind of interesting. It's like, it's funny. I saw this really funny cartoon recently that a friend of mine sent me, and it was a bunch of cockroaches in a church, and there's a cockroach up at the front pulpit, and he's preaching to the rest of the cockroaches, and above, hanging on the wall, is a boot with a cockroach smushed underneath it, and that's what's hanging up in their church, symbolizing that that's their god that was killed by the boot. And so they have this the killing device that killed their god hanging in their church. So they got this boot with a squished cockroach on it. Mm-hmm. And it's just such an interesting it's hilarious. Like, the cartoon it's so silly and stupid, but it also has a really strong point, but that's what I find interesting about that.
I actually am like, I was completely distracted by that image that you brought, like, up. Yeah, I was
trying to imagine it
about it. Yeah, and I thought it was pretty fascinating, actually.
Yeah, but it's like, that's why, like, now when I look at that piece of art, I watched the whole documentary recently about that the jar of piss with the crucifix in it, and it's interesting how much it's affected people in the good and the bad and everything else. And so I guess my point is the question of, is that art? Is it good art? What's the purpose? What I would say is it's wonderful because it's stirring up so many thoughts and emotions and so many things that people can talk about and debate and think about. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about art. Like, so when you're doing a piece of art and sometimes you don't really understand why you're doing it or why you felt drawn to it, but you feel something, someone else is going to feel something when they see that, and it might affect them in a different way. And
You
so,
what I think about this is that um that question, is it art? Like, why does it matter so much for us that something is like passing that category? Like, it's something that somebody made. It's something that somebody felt the need to express.
mhm,
I don't understand like this need that people have to answer that question, because in the end of the day it's a very academic question. Is it art or is it not art? Like, and I feel like more important than that is that on the other side of a piece of an artwork, there is something that somebody wanted to say,
mhm,
and that is the primary element of this object, independent of these definitions. And I also feel like lately in the world, we are losing the ability of critique. Like, we
mm,
are just wanting to ban and to eliminate all of it that bothers us. We are not able anymore to look at something and elaborate a critique that embraces the existence of that object into the world. It
yeah,
is a way to remove it
mhm,
in the world in the world. You know what I'm saying? It's a way to just eliminate it, and I don't think that's right. I
mhm,
think that critique and um, being open or critical of a work should always embrace the idea that this exists and this should exist. Like, if it's not an object of actual torture, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
If it's not something that is actually hurting anybody's freedom with their body or their ability to express themselves, why should it not exist? Like,
yeah.
it's the thing that I feel like we are going backwards in a
I
very
agree. And even when it comes to like this past year or two, when you know sculptures were being taken down because they're considered like racist generals or different things. Like, I understand that completely. I understand why they're doing it, but I'm also like, don't destroy it. It's a part of history.
it exists.
Put it in a museum and write about it. Teach people.
Yeah,
But like,
it
it's
exists, and racism it still exists, but
yeah,
not from a vacuum. It
exactly,
exists for a reason, and that is one of the illustrations of the reason. We
yeah,
need to know and be reminded of
exactly, yeah,
what was it, that created so much resentment and
hmm,
like prejudice and so much disgusting racism,
yeah,
like it's something that we need to explore. Like, it's not everybody that has the chance, even in America, to live with people of other races.
hmm,
And it's very interesting when you think about like Middle America and like these people who are very isolated. They have all these fucking crazy ideas about the world because they don't they don't know better. Like, and I feel like information is not always the solution. I do feel like some people have faith in their ideas, and that's when
hmm.
things get dangerous. But information is the only tool that can help. There's nothing else.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah,
Yeah, like there's not that maybe not. It's not a guarantee that it's gonna help, but it's the only thing there
yeah.
is. What else?
Well,
You
it's
can't
like
you can't
like
eliminate these people. They're still gonna be there. You
yeah.
know.
Well, it's like it's bringing up Hitler again. He burned all those books, burned artwork. He was like trying to erase culture and history, and um, I just think about all the amazing artwork from masters and different things that he destroyed because, you know, he didn't want that to exist anymore, you know. And in a weird way, it's very similar. Like when you're, you know, you're, instead of, you know, learning from something and considering it information that you can learn from, you're just going to destroy it and get rid of it and not learn from it. That's equally as dangerous, I think, you know.
I think so too, because then history becomes only a matter of writing and not of evidence.
Yep.
If you're going to eliminate all of evidence of history, all of the objects and how of the archaeological remains of past ideas, all there is left is what you write. And I don't want that. Thank you. You know, like I do want to have still physical evidence of the life that we lived as a society.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
It's very important.
And I mean, that's, as an artist, that's what I think. I don't think as a person, as an individual, I have the right to say that an object shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I have absolute right to despise it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Well, speaking of despising things and having a right and all this kind of stuff, I want to show you some fan art of you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So let's see how you feel about this after this.
Okay.
So let me share some.
Don't make me change my mind, guys.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, that is me. That is me. And those are my overalls that I still wear to work. Yeah, that is me.
This is by Jacques Lemonnier. And I just noticed you're wearing a Face the Truth Jason Seiler podcast t-shirt.
Oh, wow. That's
I
a
don't,
really nice detail.
those don't even exist. So he's thinking outside the box there.
That's awesome. Like I really like how he nailed the cheeks. I do have humongous cheeks, and like, good job. That is very much the aspect that I would increase in a caricature. Yeah. Oh wow, that's so cool. Oh my God. Okay, before we started this interview, I said I was shy, and I have been like trying really hard to hide this aspect of my personality, but now I'm starting to like shrink because it's so cool.
Yeah. This is by Mr. Ponce, by the way.
That's beautiful.
Oh, very nice. Nice work.
That's more beautiful than I am. Wow.
This one is by Paula Petlawani, and I'm not sure. I don't know what medium she's using. I think it's like
it looks like
acrylic or gouache or something.
Yeah, it does look like gouache and some pastels.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Or maybe, yeah. Or I think it's gouache. I'm also like, as a painter, I'm already like trying to solve the mystery of the mediums here. Thank you so much.
And this one's pretty
wow, I love this. You know what? Does this person know I have a tattoo or something? Because I have this thing tattoo that is like an anchor and a balloon.
Oh, they must have stalked your social medias or something.
I guess so. Wow, this is
funny.
awesome.
This is by Dominic. This is by Dominic Zeilinger, by the way.
I really love this. Thank you. I think this is very cool.
Yeah.
I really do. I love the fact that you stalked me and you came up with something really personal.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love that you stalked me.
No, seriously though, I think this is very graphic and very like. Yeah.
Oh, it looks great. This one's cool. This is by Christine Varadi.
Oh, it's a digital painting?
Mm-hmm.
That is so cool. That's so accurate. Oh my God. I'm not.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, she did
I
great
don't know.
work.
I'm always on the other side of this transaction. You know, I'm painting things. I'm not being painted. This is a very strange. I feel bad for everyone I painted. I'm sorry, guys. I now I understand how like um it's weirder than looking through the mirror. You know what I'm saying? Like you're
Yeah.
seeing yourself through the eyes of somebody else. It's very interesting. Wow. All right.
Did you say that now you feel bad for all the people that you've painted?
Because if
Like,
they're feeling as shy as I'm feeling right now, like
uh,
their cheeks are about to blow up.
that's hilarious. I love that. Oh man. So this is a unique one. This is by Pablo Salas.
Oh wow, I see that. That was my life for a long time. I would smoke my cigarettes and be painting like that. Now I'm trying to quit, but that was my life. Oh yeah. I lived in a studio apartment. That place was horrible. I would like smoke up that place to the point my mom wouldn't be able to enter it.
Oh my
That-
God.
Wow, that's cool. Uh
So-
wow, another one. That was from my Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Wow, that's so sweet, you guys. I didn't really realize that people would do this. I really didn't.
This is
That
by
place,
this is Ricardo Vasquez, by the way.
that place that I was in this it's an attic, and that was my first room in America after I left my aunt's. It was my painting studio where I slept everything. It was an interesting period, and I'm very glad that I'm seeing this picture drawn because that place brings me a lot of memories.
That's awesome. That's the last one. So thank you everybody for your artwork. That was awesome.
Thank you so much. I really am so flattered. I'm sorry I'm so awkward. You guys are awesome.
It's okay. It's part of the fun, you know.
Yeah, this is
Um,
really, really cool. I'm so happy that I was invited. This was really fun.
yeah, it was fun, really fun conversation. See, this is why I like it. I don't know where it's gonna go, you know. Want to just have a talk with another artist, and I really enjoyed talking with you. And uh, before we go here, I want to just make sure people know where they can find you online and everything, like all your Instagram and all that. But also for your watercolor work, everyone should check out. She's got amazing work. I really love all of her work. I love her style, and I wanted to ask you, like, what is there like anyone that's like you're like a very huge inspiration, because you've got a very unique style, that like even from medium to medium, I can still tell it's you, and that's a really important thing, but I'm wondering like what kind of influences you have.
To be honest, I draw more inspiration from movies than I do from other painters.
Oh, that's cool. Like,
Yeah. I really love silent movies.
mm,
And I don't know, there's something about like German expressionist composition
mm,
that I really like. It's like these very simple backgrounds that are flat and like just silhouettes, and then the figure on the front, and it's so weird and disconnected. I love that. I just
yeah,
like there is an element of acceptance of the fiction of it all. They're not trying to fool you.
yeah,
Like, it's of course it's all fake, but yet it makes you feel things. Yet it's like the acting and the story draws you in. Doesn't matter that it's fiction. And I feel like
mhm,
painting is a fiction that is interesting in the sense that you can't apprehend, like in the sense that you have images that you might use as reference, and sometimes you don't, and you connect them together. It's something that only the artist knows, and it's up to him to disclose that or not. Like
yeah,
how much of it is based on reality and how much of it is completely made up. It's always like this element of mystery that I find
mhm.
very interesting.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I want to just ask too, just before we go here, like for your watercolor, what kind of are you working on? Like hot press paper mostly?
Yeah,
And
I love when things dry fast.
yeah. I was just curious because it looks like real smooth. I love that's my preferred. I think it was I'm supposed to be doing a watercolor soon for a client. But I'm also I'm about to move, so I'm waiting till I move and all this kind of stuff. But what I like to paint on is arches. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's like a real nice, smooth hot press, you know. I can't remember the actual name of it, but I love just like it takes a beating too. Like you can
I might have that paper. It's the one that has all like the ornated like cover that is super pretty, like the block of paper.
Oh yeah, you can get it like that, but I'll go and I'll buy just one big sheet. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
I like that brand. That's a good brand. But I'll be honest that every time I'm using a brand that is a little bit more pricey, my paintings suck. Because I'm not kidding. Like I start feeling so pressure to do it right because like, this is like
that's funny.
Yeah, I'm weird like that. But the crappier the material, the better I do.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm there. The thing about watercolor, I mean, I'm sort of a like snooty with it. I think because I'm very
particular about my pigments. Yeah, I like my pigments to be very like.
Well, and with watercolor too, brushes are super important because
like you want it to be absorbent.
Yes, in other mediums, I don't really care as much about what brand I use for oil or whatever. But like for example, Series 7 brushes are like the most expensive brushes for watercolor. But I have like I think one or two, and I've had them for like 15 years, and they're the best. They're so nice, and you know. But I've worked on paper before it's just the worst. It just like soaks in. It's like staining the paper, you know. But that's why I like that arches stuff.
I don't like papers that take too much of a beating, because that means that I overwork it. I like papers that I have to make quick decisions, that I can't put too many layers, and that's gonna be it. Like you see, it's gonna get messed up. You can't touch it anymore. My biggest fear is
that's awesome.
Yeah, I have a panic of that, because when things start looking like you were more concentrated on when you're more concentrated on how it looks than what it is, that's when the fiction breaks a little bit, because now you're drawing attention to like the effort. It looks full of effort. I want things to look effortless. That's when people are not paying attention to that. It's like, I don't know. It's I don't know how to explain this.
I see what you're saying. No, I
don't like people paying attention to my effort in painting. I want them to look at what I'm painting.
Yeah.
So I try to just end it as soon as possible.
I mean, that's one way to go about it.
Definitely.
There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. I'm a big people hear me say this on the podcast all the time. I love sexy brushwork. I love, and like with whether it's oil painting or digital or watercolor, like letting the watercolor just do what it does, letting it layer on top and bleed a little bit. But like when I paint with watercolor, I'm like, I'll have like paper, like it's funny. I hear people all the time talking about how hard watercolor painting is. And to me, it's like, no, to me, it's one of the easiest. I've got my paper towel with me, and I can always fix something real quick and dab it here and whatever, and just go over it. And like, it's so organic and alive, but I like it that way. I can control it.
I feel like most people who say that are trying to go against the nature of how watercolor operates.
Yeah, let it be.
I mean, sometimes that works. Like, so the work can come out amazing, you know, when you're really trying to tame the medium. But I feel like the medium shines best when you don't tame it, when you just let it live
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Let it go wild.
Let it go wild. Let
Yeah.
it go wild.
Well, thank you again so much. It's been such a fun talk, and I love everything we talked about. Can you let people know real quick where they can find you? And everyone, please follow her and check out what she's doing. I love her painting so much. And
My Instagram is at Lorenna Lannes, LORENNALANNES. And that's all I have.
I'll put it right here. I'll put it right here on the screen, like right down there and right up there. Okay. That's awesome. So anyways, everyone check it out, please. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you for supporting the podcast. I'm not sure what's going on in the next few weeks or so. I'm supposed to be moving, and we're waiting to hear what's going on with stuff. And so there might be delays with the podcast. So I'm not sure what's going on. Next time it might be in a different place, or the next time might still be here. I don't know, but whatever.
It's still gonna be you. That's it.
Yeah, we're still gonna be doing it, but it might be a delay. Things are kind of up in the air right now. But anyways, thank you everybody, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye everyone. Thank you.
You want answers? The truth shall set you free. I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.